Welcome agents. Yesterday the Dark Hours raid released, and if you didn't catch my stream, I basically got farmed for about 3 hours. Now today I want to go over the talents, mods and stats for the new exotic assault rifle, confirm the world's first, and for the main topic we're going to talk about the raid difficulty specifically on consoles. As always, if you enjoy this video, please hit the like button below and subscribe for dedicated Division content, and with that said, let's do this. GG massive, GG everyone who had a hand in making this raid, because I think most people thought, myself included, this raid would be like how they said Tidal Basin would be difficult. But it's not. It's actually really difficult, and we'll get to that shortly. Now first up, I want to go over all of the stats, talents and exotic mods for the new raid exclusive exotic assault rifle, the Eagle Bearer. Now this weapon can drop from any of the bosses in the raid, or from the raid loot chest that spawns once the raid has been completed, which can be opened using raid keys, and these can be found during the raid from killing bosses and other places. Now the drop percentage for the Eagle Bearer has not been confirmed, but it's not guaranteed, and from what I've seen, it looks like the drop percentage is fairly low. Okay, so let's have a look at what is possibly the best assault rifle in the game right now, at least on paper. So the Eagle Bearer will drop at a gear score of 500. It's got an RPM of 700, a magazine size of 30, a reload time of 3.6 seconds, and a critical strike range of 10 to 30 meters. Now the weapon talents themselves, we've got Eagle Strike. Accuracy increases as you continuously fire up to 100% or plus 100%. Headshot kills grant plus 100% reload speed, plus 35% damage, and the tenacity buff for 10 seconds. The strength of tenacity is increased by 1% for body shots and 5% for headshots. Then we got the tenacity talent. 20 to 80% of damage taken is delayed until the buff expires. We then got the holster talent, which is protected fire. While holstered, gain 10% armor while firing your current weapon. We then have the 4 exotic mods. We got the optics, which gives you 10% critical hit chance. Magazine gives you 30 extra rounds. Underbarrel, 10% stability, and then muzzle of 15% critical hit damage. So with these on, you've got a mag size of 60 on this assault rifle, making it, I think it's got the highest mag size for any assault rifle in the game. And as you know, with assault rifles, the higher the mag, then the more they compete with LMGs. And that alone is really strong, along with, as you can imagine, the holster talent, which again is really strong. The whole thing is pretty strong, actually. And as you can imagine, there's going to be some crazy builds which take full advantage of that tenacity buff, the one that gives you 20 to 80% of damage taken is delayed until the buff expires. As you can imagine, you do all of this damage and then you drop down a heal, especially if you're a healer, and you take that damage afterwards from the NPC and you're already in your heal, so you basically won't be touched. I can imagine some crazy builds with that. Now I really hope that the devs do not take the hammer nerf to this if it became the best assault rifle in the game, which is what it looks like right now. At least for now, very few people have this weapon, and deservedly, because the raid is very difficult, and it should reward those for completing it. Now moving on, and if you didn't know already, which I'm sure you do, Marco, Wids, Nick2 and 5 others completed the raid yesterday in 5 hours and 2 minutes on PC. Now they got world's first, followed by another PC group 5 minutes later, and as of me making this video and writing this script, no one on console has completed it yet. And that's why I wanted to discuss the question of the raid difficulty on console. Now I'm going to say this right away before you guys head down to the dislike button based on that alone. I think the raid should stay exactly as it is, and I'll explain why in a second. I believe that the raid is fine the way it is. Okay, so some people have argued that the raid should be made easier for console players because it has been made with PC in mind. Now you are required to hit headshots consistently to do enough DPS, required to hit weak points to be able to down NPCs very fast in order to progress through the raid. And on top of this, on console, you can only get 30 FPS, and generally controls are much harder to use in respect of aiming, recoil control, etc. than using a mouse, for example, on PC. Now, I think all of this is completely valid. I've experienced this for myself. It's actually fairly hard to hit weak points, even using the turrets, just because aiming generally is a lot harder. And as you go through the raid, and certainly when you get to the last part of the raid where the weak points are so small, it's going to be very difficult, definitely. But, and this is a huge but, should the raid be made easier? I don't think so. The raid was completed in 5 hours by Marco and his squad. Now, the last Wish raid for Destiny took, I believe, 24 hours for World's First, and that's PC, console combined. Other raids in sort of World of Warcraft, for example, have taken days, if not longer. And I believe there was one game where it took 77 days to complete a raid. I'm not saying that they should implement that here, but what I'm saying is maybe it's a bit premature. I mean, it's only been 24 hours and people are already calling for nerfs or ways to make it easier for console. No one's really said anything specific. They've just said it's so hard to do so much damage because it's a lot harder to aim and weak points are a lot smaller and they're harder to hit and stuff. I think it's very premature and I think it's wrong. And I don't use the word wrong very often because, you know, you're all entitled to your opinion, but the raid is the pinnacle activity for the Division 2 that requires 8 agents with great coordination, builds, and familiarity with the mechanics of the raid to defeat it at every stage. Now, I kind of want to apologise to the devs because I did make a video recently talking about why having no matchmaking was a bad idea. And whilst I still think there should be some form of matchmaking in the game, which, by the way, guys, the devs have confirmed they are working on. It's something they're probably going to add later on down the line, so it is going to be there. I highly recommend, personally, that you do not attempt the raid this way. Because, honestly, guys, it will simply crush your soul. Even, you know, people who have a lot of time in this game, people who are streamers who do this for a job on console, people who've been playing this game for PvE for a long time, haven't even been able to get past the first boss with good, you know, with a squad, let alone matchmaking. So, I don't know. If it were me, I wouldn't do it, but I still think the option should be there because I think everyone should have the opportunity to actually play the raid regardless. Now, the raid can only be completed by those that really do everything possible to defeat it. It is for the hardcore audience. Now, being on console, it is more difficult, yes, but just because you can't get past the first boss, and that's me as well, I cannot get past the first boss. I'm going to attempt again tonight, but I haven't been able to. It doesn't mean that no one else can. Whilst no one has actually defeated this on console yet, no one's beat the raid, there are teams who have got to the final boss, which for me blows my mind because, again, I've not been able to beat the first boss, and I believe there's 4 bosses in this raid. My 8-player group that I played with yesterday on stream got absolutely destroyed. With that said, though, I completely match-made for the raid. Aside from Marker Blades, who I've played with before, everyone else, all the other 6 players that I played with, completely match-made via Xbox. And I took the same build I used from the last update, so it's not even a TU3 build at all, and was completely unprepared. Our squad could not coordinate, we didn't know the mechanics, and after 3 hours, we all gave up. I say we all, I kind of gave up, to be honest. Do I deserve to defeat the raid? No, absolutely not. It should not be made any easier, and it shouldn't be easy. It should be very, very difficult. People on console are slowly but surely getting there, and eventually someone will do it, and this will open the floodgates as we get guides and all of that good stuff, and that's already starting to come out already. So once all that stuff comes out, people know the mechanics, they've got their builds, and they've got a squad, they'll be able to do it. Now, when I watched Marco stream yesterday, builds, at least on PC, are not as important. Marco wasn't using a particularly good build. I imagine for console, you are going to need a good build, obviously for the reasons I've said before about aim and recoil and all that good stuff. And from what I can tell, it all comes down to DPS. From what I've seen, it's about doing as much damage as possible. Certainly on the first boss, you need to defeat the first boss, Boomer, by doing, basically when you've downed him to the floor and he's down to one knee, you need to do as much damage to his head as possible. So the more DPS you got, the better. Now, console is more difficult, no doubt, but I really think this is an excuse because it is absolutely doable on console. It's just going to take some more time, and I think people are being very, very, what's the word? People are just expecting it to be done quickly, okay? And that's kind of the mentality of gamers in many ways. I'm kind of going off subject here a little bit, and I'm definitely going off script here, but I'm not annoyed. I'm a console player myself, and I don't like seeing people say that this needs to be nerfed after 24 hours. I think it's ridiculous. I think people need more time. People are being far too premature. Give it some time, guys, and console will get there, and we'll get there, okay? Just give it some time. As a side note, one dev said that their QA team, their quality assurance team, defeated the raid on PC in 30 minutes. That's their record. Apparently, whether you want to believe that or not, I don't know. But after watching Marco on stream yesterday, if you can get the mechanics down to a T and everyone knows their roles and does them, you know, perfectly, it absolutely looks possible to be done very quickly. If you go back to the Division 1, you remember Clear Sky. If anyone remembers Stolen Signal, everyone was saying the same thing, how difficult that was. But, you know, eventually people got it, and then it wasn't easy to go through, but, you know, a vast majority of people could go through it with the right team. So that's exactly what this is. Anyway, I want you guys to leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think about this. I did put a Twitter poll on my Twitter page if you guys want to go check that out. As of right now, most people agree that they shouldn't change anything on console for this. At least give people a couple of weeks to try and do this, I think. And then if it's still not done by then maybe look at it. Okay, because I think that would be enough time. But as of right now, it's far too soon. So, yeah. Anyway, sorry for going off script a lot in this video. I do apologise. I just had to kind of make this and get this out there. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please, again, drop a like. It does help me out. Thanks to every person who joined stream yesterday. There was 2,000 people watching me on stream yesterday. Crazy. Thanks very much. Sorry I disappointed you because we got melted, but maybe next time. Anyway, guys, until the next one, epic out.